Warning, this review will ruin the Dream Master for you. Am I dead yet? The Dream Master is bad. In fact, it is probably the first truly terrible movie in the series. As a piece of cinema, I despise this movie, although I will say that it is a rather entertaining train wreck. But I don't review movies based solely on their ability to entertain. If I were to do that, things such as Fateful Findings would get a 10 out of 10. Unlike my previous reviews, I feel that I need to dissect the majority of this film in order to discuss what's so awful about it, which requires me to spoil the whole thing. If for some reason you want to watch The Dream Master without spoilers, skip to this part of the review. First off, this movie opens with a totally radical 80s song. I don't have any beef with pop music, but starting out your horror film with it is not a very good sign. The way the music transitions in this scene is really lazy, and the exact inverse of how Dream Warriors handled the same thing. See, in Dream Warriors, we start with Kristen assembling a house in order to stay awake. It starts with a moody atmospheric piece, and then transitions into the more fun Into the Fire once Kristen turns on the radio. This movie, however, just starts with the tune and then lazily fades into the horror music. I know this sounds pretty nitpicky, but your opening scene should never be a throwaway like this. In universe and out, 1988 represented the peak of Freddy's popularity. Dream Warriors was a big hit, so they decided to cash in and start appealing to their young fan base, which negatively impacted the movies. No longer a specter in the dark, he's rapping with the big boys now, aww yeah! Back to this opening scene, it's just a little girl drawing a house. Oh my. You may have also noticed that a random blonde-haired chick is walking up to the little girl. This is Tuesday Knight, who's replacing Patricia Arquette as the role of Kristen. A lot of people hate her performance in this movie, but my main gripe is that she doesn't feel like the same character. Besides that, she's fine. Whatever, rain falls and Kristen goes in Nancy's house because of course, and gets blown back by exploding windows. Remember that because it becomes a running theme in these later sequels. Since she's a wuss, she drags Kincaid and Joey into her dream, in a very MTV and unsubtle way. Now for the first stupid line of many. Joey says that Freddy is dead because the pipes are cold and the boiler is cold. This might make sense if this was real life, but did you forget you're in Kristen's dream? Maybe she just dreamed some cold pipes. This proves nothing, and it's basically just set up for Jason biting Kristen. I guess she accidentally brought the dog into her dream or something. It's implied that Freddy is somehow controlling this dog, but it never goes anywhere, so forget I mentioned it. Also, this dog's name is Jason. Did you get it? Its name's Jason. Get it? We're next introduced to some new characters, Alice and Rick. Rick is Kristen's annoying boyfriend, and Alice is quiet and shy, which means she's really important because this is a horror movie sequel. Once they drive to school, we're introduced to some more interesting and developed characters. This includes Debbie, Dan, and Sheila, who can be described as gym rat, nice jock, and nerd. I'm not even making a joke, every single line of dialogue that they have reinforces this, and it's extremely annoying.
I think Sheila is more interested in dissecting bodies and looking at the outside.
Oh, give her time, her hormones will kick in someday.
Deb, later in life you're gonna appreciate my motto.
What's that?
Mind over matter.
So Kristen talks to Kincaid and Joey about the dream she had last night. A lot of people think Joey talking in this movie is a plot hole, but it actually makes sense if you pay attention in Dream Warriors. He became silent because he was traumatized by Freddy, which is why him speaking towards the end was so powerful. So, not a plot hole, but they could have explained it a little. Anyway, their conversation is filler, and it's more there to set up the crazy hint that Freddy is alive. This shot is really confusing to me. Is Freddy influencing the real world now? How did he manage to scratch through lockers, real or dream, when he's still dead? What? One terrible 80s montage later, Alice and Rick's father gets home, and is really mad at Alice for making him vegetables for dinner. This results in the second of 4 daydream sequences. which seem to exist only to blatantly explain to the audience what Alice is feeling about a certain person or situation. They disappear pretty quickly and are never brought up again. It's like most things in this film, it's wasted potential. Now it's time to revive Freddy! So, how do they do it? With a fire-pissing dog, of course! This revival scene is really confusing and doesn't make sense on about 500 different levels. For one thing, how is Jason in the same dream as Kincaid? It was Kristen's dream power to pull people into dreams, remember? Second, how does a dog peeing in a dream revive Freddy? I get what they were going for, having something desecrate Freddy's grave so he's revived. But they're still dreaming. This is not his actual grave. Why does this revive him? 2 predictable deaths and 1 obvious foreshadowing scene later, Kristen is really worried that Kincaid and Joey might be dead. This segues into a conversation where Alice says something really confusing.
Well, when it's all you have, you kind of become an expert.
Why is dreaming all you have? Is this implying that she has low self-esteem and thus thinks dreaming's the only thing she's good at? Is this related to her drunk of a father? The bell rings before Kristen can ask what she's talking about, so I guess we'll never know. Walking into class, Kristen freaks out because Kincaid and Joey aren't in their seats, and bumps her head in the most contrived way ever.
Oh, wait, calm down!
Fast forwarding a bit because literally nothing happens for a good 10 minutes. Freddy is urging Kristen to bring someone into her dreams so he can kill him. This establishes that Freddy can't do anything to Kristen, otherwise he'll never be able to kill any more children. Kristen, being a moron and also realizing the movie can't advance without her acting like a moron, brings Alice into her dreams. Freddy then proceeds to kill Kristen for some reason. Let's look at this logically. As I said, Freddy can't kill Kristen without being deprived of a method to kill other children. But he offs her anyway, before he knows that Alice is able to absorb dream powers. Pretty risky thing to do, Fred. I guess he read the script though, so he's good. Speaking of which, I guess Kristen also read the script because she says this. How did she know she could do that? What is happening in this movie? Am I dead yet? Oh hey, Freddy influenced the real world again. Why is he able to do that? Anyone?
Mind over matter.
So they run over to Kristen's house and oh look, she's dead. Tragic. Kristen somehow got off the floor so she could burn to death on her bed, I guess. Also, it took Kristen's mother this long to notice the roaring fire in her daughter's room. Such wonderful parenting. Skipping ahead some more, Alice falls asleep in class and we get a bad dream sequence where the lovable Sheila gets harassed by Freddy. This involves sucking her hand through blood and bringing out a robot hand. Is this because she's a nerd? One awful joke and a bunch of dumb filler later, Alice falls asleep in class. Again. What a wonderfully smart character she is. Do you remember how as soon as Nancy realized that Freddy was after her, she started taking stay awake and coffee to stop that? Well, Alice here just falls asleep whenever because oh man, this ironic lecture on dreams is making me tired. I mean, who cares about logical character actions? We got effects and set pieces to get to. Speaking of set pieces, we got a falling elevator in the worst fight scene ever created by anyone. Once again, I am not joking. This is completely embarrassing and I hate watching it. It's rather obvious they filmed it this way in order to get around the lack of Robert Englund. Just awful. Also, when Alice wakes up from seeing her brother die, she somehow makes windows explode. In the real world. How is she able to do this? Not only would it require her to have a dream power she doesn't currently have, Joey's, but it would also require her to be able to influence the real world to such an extent that she is able to explode windows. Did this movie forget that it's about a dream murderer? A few scenes of filler later, Freddy forces Alice to drag Jim Rat into her dream and then wakes her up? Well, more accurately, tricks Alice into dragging Dan into her dream so he can stick them in a time loop to waste runtime. I mean, to allow for these amazing special effects. I miss Stalker Freddy. Once Debbie is dead and her character trait is absorbed, Alice decides to ram Freddy in a dream, which somehow results in both her and Dan waking up from a car crash in the real world. Did Freddy make Alice sleepwalk to Dan's car for this to happen? What about when they were caught in the time loop? What was going on there? They were driving the car, did it just warp back to the original position so they could crash the car this way? See, if you introduce an element like dream time loops to your screenplay, you need to make sure it makes sense with the universe of the film, i.e. explain it. Don't just make up new rules because you're too lazy to bother. One suiting up montage and some stupid Dan filler later, Freddy and Alice are fighting. And it's completely underwhelming. They fight in a dark church that makes it hard to see anything. The camera cuts whenever you're about to see a blow, and there's no tension. Remember, if Freddy kills Alice, he won't be able to haunt other children's dreams, and Alice clearly can't kill Freddy since he's a dream ghost. Oh boy, what a tense and exciting climax this is. But what's this? Oh my, Alice recited the Dream Master rhyme and shoved a mirror in Freddy's face, which makes him lose control of his souls and die. Like the majority of writing decisions in this film, it's underdeveloped and doesn't really make much sense. Whatever, at least it's over. For now. Overall, this movie sucks. Instead of continuing the slow burn dread that's been in every Elm Street so far, it decided to be a teen movie in horror movie clothing. Nothing about this movie works. The characters are all flat and unrealistic, the writing is beyond terrible.
Mind over matter.
And it's not scary at all. Even Freddy's Revenge, a movie I really did dislike, had moments of dread and horror and managed to be its own thing with the subtext. This movie, however, is more focused on being hip and 80s with cool effects instead of being anything with even an ounce of substance. With all that said, this movie is perfectly watchable. It is a goofy and fun flick that is entertaining in how stupid it is. That's it. That's the nicest thing I can say about this film, and that is really, really sad. I'm giving this movie a 4 out of 10. I think it is a colossal misfire for the series. Can't wait for the sequel. It's gonna be some great old good stuff. Oh boy!